Is there such a thing as bad weather? Today it's grim, it's grey, it's wet, it's quite miserable. But these conditions are actually going to be perfect for capturing natural patterns. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be using the conditions to photograph close-ups, natural patterns all around the woodland. So now the rain stopped, I'm going to make use of these conditions. What a lot of people don't realise sometimes is that overcast light can actually be really good for photography. And this is a location that I think is going to work well for this. In this light, very, very overcast, what it's going to do is just really bring out the detail. And if you've never tried this, I'd really urge you to give it a go. Go out on a day where it's really, really overcast, looks quite grey and miserable. Try looking for close-ups and you'll just be amazed. And you'll just be really surprised, I think, at the quality of the images, the quality of detail and the colour, the richness of colour that you get from it. And it's just basically down to the light. So I'm going to set up, take a very simple shot of these garlic leaves. What I'm hoping to do is get above them so I can look down on them, trying to keep everything flat, trying to keep the back of the camera parallel to the subject. And I say the light's absolutely perfect, so I'll keep it on the tripod, get everything still. Got the 100mm macro lens. I think this is going to work well for this shot. Depth of field, I'm going to go down to about f16 because with this lens it is reducing the depth of field, and I want to really try and get as much sharpness throughout the whole of the image. Now, just had a bit of a look first, handheld, trying to find a nice composition. And what I love about these kind of shots is that you can just keep them so simple. The natural patterns are already there, they've already been provided for you, so it's just a case of making the most of it. So as you can see, I tried to get above the leaves. I haven't been able to get completely flat, because in order to do that I'd have to get the tripod amongst the leaves and I really don't want to squash them all. So this is the area that I'm pointing at the moment, and I'm not really looking for anything specific. I'm just looking for a composition where I think the leaves are crossing over each other nicely, just creating a nice composition to the eye. You can see how miserable it looks in the background there, and it does look pretty miserable, but for photography it's really good. So the settings, I've got it on f16 because I want to get a lot of depth of field in this image. I've got an ISO 400. The only reason really for not going to ISO 100 to improve the quality is just that there's a bit of a breeze and the slow shutter speed is going to make it more difficult. So I'm going around 400, that's keeping the shutter speed a bit higher. In this situation I have actually got quite a lot of time. The light is staying very consistent, it's not really changing. So I'm using manual exposure, which is what I much prefer to do. So I've got my settings, got f16, ISO 400. And I'm just basically going with the meter. I'm just adjusting the shutter speed until I get the exposure meter right in the middle. Now a really good question here, should I not be using a polarizing filter? So if I put a polarizing filter on this lens, rotate it fully, then it's going to reduce the glare, it's going to reduce the reflections off the green leaves, and I'm going to get better colour and make a better image. But actually for this shot, when I've composed it and looked through the viewfinder and taken the shot, what I really like is that the reflection that are actually there is enhancing the image. So if I add a polarizing filter, it's going to cut through that, it's going to eliminate the glare, and that's going to take away the feel of the image. So in a way, if I use a polarizing filter for this shot, it's actually going to reduce the contrast. Will enrich the colours a bit, but it's actually going to reduce the contrast to me. So I'm quite happy as it is. I'm just going to shoot without a polarizer. So not only is the rain giving a really nice appearance to everything, almost every surface is wet, but it's also creating some patterns in itself. So I've just come across this. Quite interesting. On the trunk of this tree, from all the water that's come down, it's just created this really interesting pattern, and definitely worth photographing. So this is just the kind of thing that I would look for when I'm taking images like this. The bark on this tree is just absolutely gorgeous. Fantastic natural pattern. And with the ivy growing up there as well, that's going to create some good compositions. So first thing I'm going to do is set up, and I'm just purely going to take a close-up shot of nothing but the bark. I'm literally going to fill the frame, just concentrate on the natural pattern and texture. So here I've got the image on live view so you can see it. And what I've done is just getting really close. I don't want the edge of the trunk coming into view. I just want to make sure that I completely fill the frame with this natural pattern. I've gone down to f22. The reason being, with the shape of the trunk, obviously it's curved. It's not at all flat. So I'm trying to get as much depth of field as I can. And when you do use the macro lens and get close like this, your depth of fields always gets smaller and smaller. So I've gone down to f22, still at ISO 400. That means I've ended up with a shutter speed of 4 seconds. Now what first actually caught my eye was really the combination, the contrast between the texture and colour of the ivy leaves against the tree bark. So that's what I'm going to set up now. Now with this image I've actually tried it with and without a polarizer, because I just felt here it may actually look better with the polarizer on. So I've done it with, then I've put the polarizer on, I've rotated it, and it's just kind of reducing the glare a bit. But it's really hard to say which one I prefer, so maybe you decide. If you prefer one or the other, let me know in the comments box. But basically, you know, if you're not too sure, why not do both? Have a look at the image afterwards and then decide which one you prefer. You see the difference between these two images as I flip between these two shots. In one shot I've rotated the polarizer fully. In one of the shots most of the glare has gone from the leaves, but then the other shot, the right hand side, the colour on the tree just looks a bit richer. So this is the thing about polarizers, they're not that predictable. Just have to give it a go and see how it looks. Little snail there as well. I found another really good natural pattern now. So this is one I've seen before. Just incredibly extensive tree roots. Reminds me of the film Sleepy Hollow, if you've seen that one. Again, this just creates a wonderful natural pattern. So what I'm going to do first is look at it as a slightly wider shot, and then I'm going to go a bit closer, home in a bit more, see if I can isolate one section. Yeah, happy with that shot. Pretty simple, cheap and cheerful. It's a very complicated looking structure, but actually creates a very simple image. So again, it's just enhanced by the conditions, not just the light, but also because there's so much water around, and it's just helping to show up that texture. Thanks for clicking and watching the video. I hope in this video that it just showed that you don't always need really bright sunshine. In fact, bright sunshine is actually one of the worst things a lot of the time. But even in very overcast conditions, where it looks grey, miserable, looks like it isn't even worth going outside, you'd be surprised what you can do. And for these kinds of photos, for the macro shots, for getting real detail, for the natural patterns, this is actually the light that I prefer, because it just brings out the detail and colour much more. So if you haven't subscribed, click on subscribe and click on the bell icon to be notified of new videos, and I'll see you sometime in nature somewhere soon.